guys, Allure coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. Welcome to the video, guys. I'm happy to have you here talking a little bit of Raid with me today. Send some positive vibes, especially if you need them out there, guys. I'm in a great mood. I gotta thank you guys. You hit me with like, God, over 100 book and TV recommendations. I think I'm gonna go with Warhammer. I forgot the name of it. Warhammer something K or whatever. That was the #1 request when I said that I'm in the mood for something like dark and fantasy feeling towards it. So I'll let you know what I think of that. I also just finished, it's here on the desk, Kurt Vonnegut's Sirens of Titan, excuse me, which was a pretty good read. You gotta kind of like Vonnegut to obviously enjoy the book, but I enjoyed it personally. Today, I thought to myself, besides the Hades collab recently, I haven't done a list here in like a month or more, which is sacrilege for my YouTube channel. So ask and you shall receive. Even though not many of you guys asked, but I like making these videos. There's so many new epic and legendary champions that are so incredibly good in this game. Power creep is real. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at the situation, that redoing these lists is actually kind of fun, at least to me. So hopefully you guys enjoy it as well. I'm also, usually I just kind of make these lists, you know, in no particular order, but I thought that I would actually rank them today. And again, this is so subjective, guys. It's just my opinion. It's if Raid came to me and they said, hey, you want some free epics to start your brand new account? What do you want to go with?
I'm not sure what to do with my hands.
That's kind of how I treated this question. So everything depends. Disclaimer, everything depends on your account, what you need at the time. A lot of these champions are totally different. So just having some fun here, guys. And I apologize to people who don't like the ratings that way or the rankings that way. But without further ado, let's start things off with a quick honorable mention or two, because man, oh man, dude, there's like 30 to 40, in my opinion, S-tier epics in the game. So there's going to be so many snubs. I thought I would shout out a few of them. Such as Ursula, like a massive fan of this champion. The problem is, as soon as I start shouting out champions, I'm going to also forget a million shoutouts, right? Archmage Helmet is an incredible champion who's not on the list. Stag Knight is an incredible champion who's not on the list. Very easily could be, but if you're offended by anybody not being on the list, you go ahead and tell me who you take out for them. Magnar, I took off the list. He was on it originally. Same thing with Genbo. My two favorite nukers out of all epic champions. And the reason I did that is because I feel like once you kind of have one great nuker, maybe two or three great nukers, you know, they're not as a great nuker to me in a vacuum is not as valuable to an account as a really great support champion, because it's just easier to find really good AoE nukers. As an example, case in point, I did a guide recently on Dirindil, and this dude's a monster nuker, like a really monster nuker. I did a guide recently on Alika, who is a machine in terms of nukers in the game. I did a guide on Felijah, who is incredible, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of good nukers. If I had to include one, it would probably be Magnar, because he's a tanky nuker and he hits so hard with 2 hits. But anyway, guys, let's stop rambling here. Here I am 3 minutes into the video. I haven't given you one champion. At number 15, guys, it's going to be Karamus. I love this dude. I mentioned it on several occasions here. I think he's a really special champion. More to meets the eye on this champion, right? HP in all battles, 25%. He's placing a provoke on all enemies, so it's not predicated on getting a critical hit or anything like that on a 4-turn cooldown. Counterattack and continuous heal on himself. This is all on a 3-turn cooldown. 100% provoke, placed, counterattack, continuous heal. That leads him into his A1, right? 100% chance of stealing 15% of the target's turn meter. That's a great turn meter still on the A1. Has also a 30% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn if the target's turn meter is fully depleted by this skill. So we get a 15% turn meter fill, but if they just took a turn because they were provoked, he's also landing a stun. It's really nasty, man. Really nasty. And that's not turn meter manipulation. That's a straight up steal. On the A2, he's got an AoE, decrease the duration of all enemy buffs, and then fills the champion's turn meter by 10% for each buff that has its duration decreased. I mean, that's for every buff. If there are like, you know, 20 buffs on the enemy team, I use this guy in Hydra. If you use him in Hydra, there's always going to be enough buffs to totally fill his turn meter again. Then you're taking the provoke down to a 2-turn provoke, essentially, because of that extra turn. He's got a really good kit, and he has decreased attack too, man. Really, really good champion, guys. Do not sleep on him if you pull him. We have the only tie on the list. I thought it was apropos at number 14 to give Royal Guard because of his takedown ability, enemy max HP, not to mention his great control ability. He's great for Dark Fae as well. I use him in my Dark Fae team. Fantastic champion, decreased defense on his A1. And I gave him a tie with Husk. Listen, Husk and Royal Guard are a lot different. Both have an enemy max HP champion, but Husk is always also bringing a stun, and a provoke on his A1. So I give Husk the small edge in Hydra, and then maybe the small edge everywhere else that you don't need the CC, at least the provoke and the stun, to Royal Guard, who also hits a little bit harder with his enemy max HP. But I tied them both because I wanted to include both of them here at number 14. At number 13 on our list, guys, Sacred Order. Braden, get out of here.
I wish I was a dinosaur, because all of them are dead.
At number 13 on the list, we have Inquisitor Shamil. Inquisitor is such an important champion in this game. Not only does he do a lot of damage, but he's got this passive where whenever an ally receives a fear or true fear debuff from an enemy, instantly remove it and fills the champion's turn meter by 15%. It's almost a must-have champion or an ability for Hydra Clan Boss. Certainly one of the champions out there in the game that I have built 2 of, and I don't regret it at all. You know, I used both copies every single week on Hydra Clan Boss. He's one of the most unique champions in the game when it comes to Hydra Clan Boss. Certainly no legendary can do what he does in the way that he does it. I mean, really, Tawana Rock and Doom Priest are really your only, not your only other options. You could have a bunch of cleansers on the team, but it just makes Hydra so much easier dealing with the fears and the true fears. That's why I have him at number 13. At number 12, I have my man Voggoth, dude. I really love this champion still. He's got a triple hitter on his A1. He's got a provoke on his A2, 75% provoke. Also, he has a decreased attack on enemies who receive the provoke, so don't sleep on his A2 ability. And then he has this unbelievable heal here. Whenever this champion is attacked, heals all allies by 50% of the damage received. Man, oh man, 25% against bosses, but that's a lot of healing, both in areas like Bommel, right? Against any boss that you need an amazing healer, look no further than one of the best in the game in Voggoth, but also great for a go second team in the arena, especially a budget go second team. He's so easy to build, doesn't really matter how slow he is, so you can just build him super tanky, put him in a bolster set for extra added utility, and he just sits there and heals your team. He doesn't even have to take a turn, really. So really love Voggoth. At number 11, guys, we have none other than new champion. You're going to see a lot of newbies here. White Dryad Naya. Very good champion, great base stats, AoE decreased speed based on defense. Yes, it's the same as Krisk's A1. And then we have Righteous Revival. This is a unique ability. No legendary has this type of ability in the game. Targets one ally, full cleanse, heals them by 40% of their max HP, and if the target is not this champion, decreases the cooldown of not one skill, but all of their skills by 2 turns, which is enough oftentimes of getting that full cooldown. That's insane. You put that alongside some of the strongest champions and abilities in the game, you know, like a Geomancer, foreshadowing to later on the list. It's just going to make them incredible. It's a broken ability, and it's one that oftentimes people overlook in her kit. She also has Ally Protect, big version on a 3-turn cooldown, Strengthen on a 3-turn cooldown, and whenever this champion is healed, heals all allies except this champion by 20% of that heal. I have to say that pairing her with Voggoth, who we just mentioned, makes even extra great heals, right? Because she's sending 20% of that heal back at everybody yet again. Very, very cool champion, extremely powerful from the Sylvan Watchers faction. Number 10 is going to be an oldie but a goodie. I cannot make a list without including Madame Seer here on the list, guys. She's very, very good and still irreplaceable in terms of nobody can do exactly this in the arena. It's why we still see her on so many arena offensive teams. Even some defensive teams, after they added the AI to the game, she used to always go in with the trick and treat ability, which is a great ability in its own right. You have a chance of stealing buffs, place block debuffs on allies. If there's a buff stolen, a true fear on enemies who have the buff stolen. She's got the shield on the passive. She's got more fear on the A1, but really Midnight Ritual is removing all buffs and placing a decreased attack and decreased defense. What a great way to set the table for your nuker in the arena. A buff removal and the big version of decreased defense. It still makes her one of the better champions out there for the arena specifically. Been power crept after her nerf a little bit in PvE content. You can still get utility out of her, don't get me wrong, but it being on a 4-turn cooldown does mitigate a little bit of her PvE. That's why she's number 10 on the list and not number, 6.
Why should they be happy?
Moving on, speaking of debuffers, coming in at number 9 is going to be my man, Deacon Armstrong. Deacon Armstrong is such a powerful champion, guys. He's got speed in all battles on the aura, right? Great to have, especially from an epic. We have, on the A1, he has a leech, so not a bad. It's on each hit, has a 50% chance of placing that leech, so it's actually a very dependable leech to have. So he's bringing a little bit of sneaky healage off of his A1 vis-a-vis that leech. Sweeping Retribution on a 3-turn cooldown, attacks all enemies, places the big version of decreased defense. There we go, fantastic. On time compression, this is what makes this kit so unbelievably powerful. We have a turn meter fill of 15%, a turn meter decrease by 15%, and then that extra turn just keeps everything going like the Energizer Bunny, man. He doesn't stop, right? So you can build him fast, and I mean, he's taking extra turns, turn meter fill, turn meter decrease. Decreased defense essentially can be up almost all the time on enemies. A very effective champion. I love him in against Dark Fae as well. Just so much utility basically anywhere in the game with Deacon Armstrong. So I decided to include him over like Stag Knight and Duck the Pierced, 2 of my other favorite debuffers in the game, but really all of them deserve a massive shout out. They're all incredible in their own way. Coming in at number 7, guys, is going to be a kind of it's going to be a newbie, and I love this dude. It is Skinwalker, Void Epic Akemptum. Whoa! So you may think that 7 is a little bit high for this dude, or you might think it's a little bit low if you know how amazing this champion is. But he's incredible. Man, he's just like one of the best damage dealers and kind of even control champion in the game. He's really, really cool, guys. He has a triple hitter on his A1. We have a 50% chance on each hit of placing the big version of poison for 2 turns. I mean, just that in itself, a triple hitter, big version of poison. 3-4 years ago when I started playing, like, we talked about Nethril with a triple hitter of poison, the big version, as if like he was the most special poison damage dealer.
Don't compare to me. They would never make you walk in a dress on my level, Nicole.
I'm not trying to compare him to Nethril directly. Nethril is still a great champion, but his kit just keeps getting unbelievably better, right? We have, if the target's under a hex, each hit also has a 50% chance of applying a debuff spread, taking a random debuff from the target and placing it on all enemies. So we have a debuff spread on the A1, provided they're under hex, which they always are, because look at this. Attacks all enemies 3 times on a 3-turn cooldown. So a triple hitter on a 3-turn cooldown, each hit has a 75% chance of increasing the duration of any hex debuffs by 1 turn. So now we're increasing those hexes, ergo making that debuff spread more possible from the A1. If enemies are not under hex, well, don't worry. Each hit has a 75% chance of placing a hex for 2 turns. So you can place and then increase with the extra 2 hits, right? And then on the passive, Hex Blood has a 100% chance of inflicting damage from 1 poison debuff to enemies under hex debuffs whenever their allies receive damage from poison debuffs. That can stack up for so much freaking damage. It's incredible. Speed in all battles by 18%. You name it. He's Void Affinity. You can use him anywhere. Great combo champion with other poison champions in the game, other buff extenders in the game. I just put out a video of him and Dark Kale. Oh my god, dude. That's a broken combo, and I just love this dude. I think the word is getting out there, but it's not totally out yet, just how incredible he is. One of my favorite champions added in a long, long time to the game. Coming in at number 6, guys, is going to be a legacy old school champion. It's Allure. Allure is still the goddess of control. We talked about it with Inquisitor Shamil, guys, but Allure is one champion who I actually built 2 of, right? Building dupes, because what's better than one of the best control champions with their A1 in the game? How about 2? You can run double Allure or just simply single Allure against old school Fire Knight, not the hard version, but Fire Knight and Dark Fae. Anybody susceptible to turn meter, especially Dark Fae, especially Fire Knight, There's nobody better in the game still to this day. 3 times on the A1, decrease target's turn meter by 25% on each critical hit. So you build her with 100% crit rate. I mean, Temptation's not a bad ability for getting through waves. Hellish Blaze, I usually turn off, even though it's ignoring 50% of the target's defense. It really doesn't hit that hard. But boy, just because of that A1, it's insanely good. No legendary can control like Allure can, and that's super special. That's why she comes in at number 6. At number 5 on my list, guys, is none other than the queen of damage dealing in PvE herself. It is Seer. Every time I say that she's like the queen of damage dealing in PvE, some people always comment that like they love her in PvP. And I can see why, right? You can remove all buffs from all enemies and then just do damage based on the buffs. You could bring her in against a tankier go second team, provided you have enough accuracy. But really, when we talk about Seer, we're talking about speed runs, level 25 dungeons or higher. The mobs have so much HP, and not many champions outside of poison can bust strategy. Even Acrizia, like even the hardest hitters in the game, can't do the damage that Karma Burn can. Not even close. And that's what makes her so special. This can bleed through enemies, talking over millions of HP, millions of damage on the Karma Burn, provided you can set her up with enough buffs on the team. For that reason, she is definitely deserving to me of that top 5 spot on our list today. All right, guys, number 4 on the list is Dark Kale. Dark Kale is a Doom Tower normal champion who you're all going to get your hands on eventually, and you're going to love this dude if you don't have him already. A triple hitter with a chance of activating each hit, I should say, 35% chance of instantly activating 2 poisons or a poison and an HP burn. That's a lot of damage. It's one of the better instant activators out there in the game because it's a triple hitter in each hit, and it applies to poison and or HP burn, and it's 2 as well. Each hit activates 2, okay? It's when you think of, I mean, it's obvious, but when you think about it, it's not like total you activate 2. Each hit you get that 35% chance of activating 2 or 1 of each. So it can really stack up to be a ton of damage if you get lucky depending on RNG there. But the rest of his kit's insane too. Binding Darkness, 3-turn cooldown, attacks all enemies, 100% chance of placing decreased attack for 2 turns. Each critical hit also has a 75, make it 100 when booked, of increasing the duration of all debuffs on the target by 1 turn. Really strong ability. And then Reality Acid, on a 3-turn cooldown again. We have 100% chance of placing 3 poison debuffs and poison sensitivity, big version, on the target for 2 turns. Whoa! He is bringing a lot to the table and decreasing enemies' crit rate under 2 or more poison debuffs by 15%. And again, in case you're unaware, most bosses in this game only have a 15% crit rate, so you are mitigating their critical hits. So really, really, really powerful kit, incredible champion. All right, guys, the top 3. I'm not so biased that I put this guy at number 1, even though, I'm not gonna lie, I was tempted. To Gore!
I told you who I thought I was, a god. I just told you.
He's so freaking good, man. Gore is so good. I've been singing his praises for a while now. I think people are starting to catch on a bit, but man, he's nasty, nasty, nasty support champion. Attacks 1 enemy 2 times. His multipliers are actually good. This dude can deal a lot of damage on top of everything else he's doing, which is crazy. It places a big version of increased defense for 2 turns on the ally with the lowest current HP. It's a great ability, man. The big version for 2 turns. I mean, really good. On the A2, Charge Can't. Attacks all enemies on a 3-turn cooldown. Brings the big version of decreased speed. And then heals all allies by 15% of this champion's max HP. That's the magic. We want it this champion. We can scale his HP super high and get a massive heal on a 3-turn cooldown with an attack that does a decent amount of damage based on attack and an increased speed. Whoa, okay. Rise and Fight revives all dead allies with 30% HP and a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns equal to 20% of this champion's max HP. So a 5-turn cooldown, revive everybody on the squad. Sure, it's not as strong as Ursula's revive, but the rest of his kit is really, really strong. On his passive, it keeps getting better. Aid the Feeble decreases damage received by allies with 50% HP or less by 10%. So he's rocking a 10% permanent damage mitigation for anybody on your team who has less than 50% HP when they need it the most. He's also bringing HP in all battles by 25%. What a nasty, nasty champion. He's one of my faves. What a great support champion, guys. Love that he brings the increased speed too. He's bringing so much and from a reviver. Damage, increased speed, increased defense, a great heal, damage mitigation, you name it. All right, number 2 is going to be, I'm done drooling over my man Gore, is going to be Godseeker Aniri. Godseeker, she's built different, guys. She's built different. She got a heal on the A1, on the A2, Quest for Meaning, attacks all, and this ability is so freaking good. I mean, the rest of her kit's so good too, but Quest for Meaning is really good. Attacks all enemies, heals all allies by 15% of their max HP. It's no Gore, but it's still good. Then decreases the duration of all buffs on all enemies by 1 turn, and increases the duration of all buffs on all allies by 1 turn. So a buff extender on a 3-turn cooldown a la Krisk, you know, and then a decreased duration of buffs on all enemies by 1 turn. And again, I say this all the time, but sometimes 1 turn is all you need. You know, sometimes their buffs only last 1 turn, so it's a buff stripper there, right? Then we have Rise of Glory. She doesn't need accuracy for that, obviously. Revives a dead ally 50% HP, fills a turn meter by 50%, resets the cooldown of all of their skills on a 4-turn cooldown. What a nasty, nasty, nasty revival ability with the reset cooldown of all their skills. No legendary even has that ability in the game. There's no wonder that she's being used in so many different areas in the game. Everything they add, Sand Devil, she's one of the best champions in the game, probably, arguably, the best champion in Raid Shadow Legends for Sand Devil, allows you to duo with several different combinations. Ninja is the one I use, just because of this Rise of Glory and this passive Guardian Angel, which if an ally is about to get killed by a fatal hit, preempts that hit and instantly places a revive on death on them before the damage is taken. So they can use that on her, and then she can revive and reset the cooldowns of whoever you're running alongside of her. Man, what a good champion. She's really, really good. And then number 1 epic champion in the game is still, in my opinion, none other than, shout out to Cornelia, but none other than Geomancer.
Son of a bitch.
Geomancer still, for my money, is the best epic right now in the game. AoE on the A1, decrease accuracy. A great AoE on this A1 ability, right? Creeping Petrify, a great A2. It's a remove all buffs from a target enemy, then attacks them. Steals all buff if they're under HP burn instead. Reduces the cooldown of Quicksand Grasp, which is the highlight of his kit on a 3-turn cooldown. Reduces the cooldown of Quicksand Grasp by 2 turns if the target is killed by this skill while under HP burn placed by this champion. Sure, it's not going to work, against bosses, but it's still decent for like minions and wave clearing. On the A3, Quicksand Grasp fully depletes target's turn meter. As if that wasn't enough. Fills his champion's turn meter by the amount the target loses. So we're getting a 100% turn meter, basically steal. Has a 100% chance of placing HP burn and a weaken on the target for 3 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. And as if that wasn't enough, Stone Guard allows for some amazing freaking things. Decreases the damage all allies receive by 15% and deflects that damage onto each enemy under HP burn debuff placed by this champion. Whenever this champion is attacked, deflects 30% of the damage instead. When deflecting damage on each enemy, 30% chance of dealing additional damage equal to 3% of the target's max HP. Whew! That's a mouthful, and it's also a heck of a lot of damage. It's an incredibly unique ability, and I do think that Geomancer, again, is, probably the most powerful epic in the game. It probably goes without saying here, but I should probably mention this. I don't think any of these champions need nerfs at all in the game, so Plarium, if you're watching,
Don't you dare touch him!
Team no nerf. They're perfectly balanced. Guys, let me know. I know I snubbed a ton of champions on this list. Let me know who you agree with, who you disagree with on my top 15 epic champions in the game. Who is my biggest snub? I would love to hear from you guys. And make sure you include who you're replacing with the snub, right? Because you got to take somebody out of the list to put somebody on. Them's the rules, guys. Thank you for watching till the end of the video. And as always, take care, guys.